You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Eternal Tournament Series, Round 2 of Season 2, Week 5. This is Calendir, and with me in the booth is Sir Rhino.
Hello, hello. 1 round down, 5 more to go before we cut to top 8. And we've got a doozy of a round here. We've got a pair of 1-0 players. Yeah, we're up in the winner's bracket. And we've got Illunga versus Jammernaut, bringing maybe some unexpected lists here today.
Yeah, this is a matchup I'm excited for. We have Feln versus, FTJ, classic, except that the FTJ list is actually Charge Rod playing Memento Mori, and the Feln list is actually Scream playing everyone's favorite elf, Lethrai Skystrider.
Yeah, Sky Strider is a card that I've experimented with some, and it's a really fun card to play with. There's not a lot of elves out there, but Illunga's jammed it into this Scream list. There's 4 Beast Callers and 4 Champions of Cunning. And what Lethrai Sky Strider is, it's simply just a 2/2 for 4. But when it attacks, your elves get flying. And also it has a, I want to say, ultimate
ally trigger.
Is it an ally trigger? Yeah, it's an elf ally trigger. So it's basically an ultimate, right? Where if you play it and then there's another elf in play, you look at the top 3 or 4 cards of your deck, you pick a spell out of that goes into your hand, the rest go to your void. So what you can do is trigger Sky Strider, get Haunting Scream out from the top of your deck, and then also put a Haunting Scream target into your void, and hey, that's great. There's some other cool spells that interacts favorably with Mirror Image we see in this deck that works really well with both Haunting Scream and Sky Strider, so that's really exciting to see. And depending on how deep you go on the elf theme, you can actually put in the Madness Ashara package, as Ashara is also an elf. And that's really fun. Maybe not so fun in a world where everybody's playing Hailstorm, though. So I think that's why Illunga's going a bit bigger with the Champion of Cunning plan instead. On the other end is Charge Rod. We've seen this deck rise and fall over time, but Jammernaut's bringing it with a new charge unit, Venom Rider, which some Charge Rod decks like to play, some don't. It gives you a little bit more interaction, but it doesn't get weapons from Caleb, so what's the point, right? But yeah, 4 Memento Mori to help ramp and fix. That's pretty extreme.
Yeah, Memento Mori is pretty spicy. Typically, you'd see Power Stone or Find the Way or something in that slot, but Memento Mori does it all. So we'll see how that works out for Jammernaut as players get into the game here. Jammernaut going to start off with a Scout Land. Leave that on top, it looked like.
Yeah, Jammernaut's curve is something out of I don't even know what, right? The 12 1-drops, 4 of which are Seek Power. 4 Secret Pages as a 3-drop, no 2-drops, 4 Whirling Duo, and then your 4 drops are 4 Memento Mori and Rise. Like, you just have nothing going on in the early game at all, and that's kind of okay in this current metagame.
Yeah, they make it work,
Yeah.
So here comes the early Direwood Beast Caller, and does Jammernaut have any card? And there's the Torch, but outside of Torch, there's no interaction for that.
That's a rough timing of Torch. I understand why Jammernaut did it. It's because he really wants to Secret Pages this turn. But normally against Scream, you like to hold your Torch for when they actually attack with their Infiltrate unit so that they can't Scream it back, which Illunga has the option to do here. We may not see it, though, as they could be wary of a second Torch.
There's that and the option of playing the Gorgon Fanatic, but it looks like Illunga's going to opt to just play the Scream now, get those 2 5/5 beasts on the board while he has the chance, and really put the onus on Jammernaut to find that harsh rule.
Yeah, and I like this Scream from Illunga. I think if he didn't have the Dark Return in hand, we may have seen the Gorgon Fanatic play instead. Right. But with the Dark Return being a kind of safety valve for your Beast Caller getting torched, I think it made the decision much easier.
And that's a pretty good draw from Jammernaut there, finding the harsh rule. But like you said, we still have that Dark Return in Illunga's hand. So Illunga's just going to build that board again.
Yep. And this time the Beast Caller will stick around. Jammernaut's tapped out, so this will be a really easy turn for Illunga. Beast Caller will just come down again and slam in. And yeah, this is what Scream can do, right? It plays this must answer threat. A lot of other decks out there right now are also skimping on the early game, not just Jammernaut. They're really relying on Hailstorm, and Beast Caller is great against the Hailstorm plan.
Yeah, and Venom Rider actually not bad here though. Next turn can take care of both threats essentially, both of the 5/5s.
It could, but is Jammernaut concerned about their life total? It looks like they are. They don't want to take 12 here, so they end up just trading it for one of the Direwood Beasts. And Illunga can just load up with another threat here, whether he wants it to be Fanatic or Beast Caller. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, and it looks like Jammernaut was really hoping for a slower game. The proactive threats of Illunga coming down so early, as early as turn 3, really took time away from Jammernaut not being able to play out all their ramp and slowed down their game plan a little too much.
Yeah, now Illunga just trying to dig for some sort of removal to really end this game. Doesn't find it. Now just looking for that permafrost, still whiffs on it, but in the meantime can still swing in for 7 damage.
Yeah, not a small amount by any means.
And it's effectively a 2-turn clock with that Varus Favor lurking in hand. So Jammernaut finds another Icaria, and that might just spell his doom. Oh yeah, and a permafrost.
Yeah, not activating the Venom Rider, hoping to catch up a little bit on the ramp, and it's just going to be the game here for Illunga. So a quick game 1, but still potentially 2 more games to go, and a lot could happen in this matchup.
Yeah, and there we see, Illunga digging around, maybe trying to find a counter spell or something before attacking, although he's not playing any Unseal's main deck. But either way, sideboard time as Illunga takes game 1.
Yeah, and both these decks are kind of similar in that they're sort of combo decks, trying to prey on attacking from weird angles so that control decks can't quite deal with their threats. But Illunga starts that game plan much faster, and it's more of a mini combos here and there. Whereas, and the value like builds as the game goes on. Whereas Jammernaut is going for this slow build into you're completely done, you're out of the game, I've won.
Yeah, and I think Illunga will benefit from sideboarding a bit more than Jammernaut. Just looking at the list to begin with, Illunga is kind of straddling a couple different game plans, right? As you said, it's kind of a combo control. It's playing Gorgon Fanatic and Beast Caller, but also playing 3 Hailstorm and like weird 1-ofs and 3-ofs and 2-ofs all over the spot. Where now post-board, he can really focus in on what removal do I want to play, what kind of threats do I want to play, and sort of really customize that experience. Whereas Jammernaut, you're Charge Rod. You don't have much flexibility here. You get to bring in Desert Marshal, which is huge. That card is absolutely devastating against a Scream deck and really useful, but your game plan's not going to drastically change too much.
Yeah, I mean, front runner, it comes in when you need to be a little faster, be able to play that turn 7 front runner divining rod type thing. But I don't think this is that matchup. I think we saw it might be. We saw how much difficulty Jammernaut had getting their threats out, getting their ramp gone. So we'll see what they choose. And Illunga, like you said, going to have a much easier time honing in on what answers they need and being able to get rid of some of the cards like Hailstorm and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's a real question of Jammernaut. You need to get at least these 4 Desert Marshal in. What are you cutting for them? Harshal's kind of bad, but also kind of necessary if your opponent does get the hit in with Direwood Beast Caller. It's one of the few ways you can get back into the game. So what else could you cut here? Is your power base built in a way where you could shave a couple Momentum Warriors or maybe get away from the Rise to the Challenge plan? Maybe shave down on those?
I was really unimpressed by Venom Rider that game. It just felt so slow, taking an entire turn off to just play a blocker, to play essentially a spider. What is the card I'm thinking of?
It's a scorpion of some kind. I don't know exactly the name of it.
Hold on. But it was essentially just a Dire Fang spider.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah, because it's a 3/3, it's trading with your opponent's 3/2s. It is a kind of tidy, nice answer to the Champions of Cunnings. We didn't see any from Illunga that game, but it is a pretty clean answer to that card. So that might be a reason to still keep some number of them in.
Right, and it looks like players are just getting into the game now. Opening hand from Illunga has the Lethrai Sky Strider, so maybe we'll get to see some of that action as he tosses it back, finds another. And this is a much faster hand from Jammernaut.
Ooh, and I got a fun little spectator bug here, so I'm gonna duck back out and get back in.
So Jammernaut not with any ramp, but with a Alluring Ember and 2 Whirling Duos.
Aggro
and the
play.
ability to, the ability to play Whirling Duo on turn 3 as well.
Yeah, really good fixing from Jammernaut. A little bit of filtering with figuring out the timing of when to play that crest here, but triple justice, triple time, double fire. That's a good starting hand.
Yep. But when it comes down to it, Jammernaut's still not really accelerating towards that Divining Rod Icaria type plan. So the Whirling Duo is really going to be enough versus a deck as powerful as Scream? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jammernaut's gonna. I think ideally would have liked to have seen another piece of acceleration rather than power here with this fire sigil draw to really hope to get to, as you said, those top end haymakers, those 6, 7, 8 drops. While he'll have a bit of a bitter mid game, actually could just be the beatdown here if Illunga doesn't find Hailstorm, which probably got sided out.
Yeah, and we saw Illunga had to scout a in Cold Blood to the bottom just because trying to find power in these early stages here.
Okay. Well, this is a pretty good look for Illunga off this strategize. Finds another elf to pair with Sky Strider, but has to bottom something out of this hand. Maybe the Devour is a little too slow here. I think
my guess is Levitate, to be honest with you. But they also haven't seen that many units come out from Jammernaut and not a lot of good targets for Permafrost, so they might undervalue it in this situation. So we'll see what they end up choosing. And it's the Devour, so you're right, and I am not.
All right, there is a secret pages for Jammernaut, but that's not going to get deployed anytime soon while he has the ability to just beat down. If you're Jammernaut, are you ever even thinking of playing around Hailstorm post board? Like, I just would think Illunga took it out.
Yeah, I am going to have to agree with you there. So quick question for you. As the Lethrai Sky Strider expert, does it give itself flying when it attacks?
Yeah, yep. Your attacking elves get flying, and Lethrai Sky Strider is an elf, so it attacks as a 2/2 flyer. It doesn't block as one though.
Yeah, so makes sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty handy ability when I've used it thus far. It gives your Direwood Beastcaller flying when you attack with both. It's pretty nice. Of course, it doesn't help get past an Alluring Ember. So it looks like Jammernaut's opting to secret pages this turn rather than try and be the beatdown, playing with a long view, realizing again it's more about getting to those 6, 7, 8 drops as soon as possible.
Yep. And the Mirror Image, one of the other more interesting cards that Illunga has in his deck. A lot of really cool options, like being able to use it on something that already has Charge and Flying from Haunting Stream is really cool. Use it on an activated Champion of Cunning is extremely powerful. Using it on a Lethrai Sky Strider to trigger both of them. So a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and here we see Levitate's going to put in some work. Although maybe we'll see Sky Strider get played first. I don't know what you want the ordering to be here. But no, Levitate the Beastcaller a hit. See what you draw off, Levitate. And yeah, Jammernaut is pretty far behind again here.
Oh no, it doesn't have charge. Excuse me. I was thinking he could have mirror imaged and made another flying Beastcaller, but wouldn't have been able to attack and would have lost flying at the end of turn.
Yeah. So I think it makes a bit more sense to Sky Strider here. Finds an In Cold Blood, puts a Sky Strider into the void, but
as well as a Devour and a Seat of Cunning.
There's another Whirling Duo, but Illunga now is just really in the driver's seat as far as pressure goes. Can either go Champion of Cunning without an Aegis and start buffing up the board, but an In Cold Blood will allow these Direwood Beasts to start swinging in.
I think that the Champion of Cunning is a little bit risky when we haven't seen a harsh roll come down yet. But Jammernaut, only 2 cards left in hand, and really needs to find some pieces to actually put together a proactive game plan, as Illunga making a huge swing here.
Yep. Sky Strider showing off what it can do, allows all the elves in play to safely swing over the top of this whirling duo. And Jammernaut was just really hoping to find a rod. Like Jammernaut's at rod or bust at this point. Like that is how you make a comeback on this board, is put a rod on one of your charge units and hope it flips 2 to 3 units and gets you back in this.
Yeah, and Illunga gonna get Jammernaut to 1 here. So this is the last turn for Jammernaut.
And Illunga, if he had cast Mirror Image on Sky Strider, could have tried to find lethal here.
Right.
Opted to not go for it. Yeah, you could have, Mirror Image Sky Strider and found Haunting Scream, which, but deciding to instead just deploy out a Champion of Cunning this turn.
And that's going to be the game there, as Jammernaut draws another power.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a danger you run when you play 25 power plus 12 more power on top of it, right? The 4 Memento Mori, 4 Secret Pages, 4 Seek power. So it's a lot. You need to hit your 6, 7, 8 drops, but that comes with the problem of sometimes you don't draw any of those, and we saw it at work there.
So certainly not as explosive as that matchup could have been, but definitely still really cool deck lists. And congratulations to Illunga there for the victory with the elf deck. I as soon as Lethrai Sky Strider was spoiled, I was excited about that card. I think Scream is probably the best place for that card.
Yeah, for now I think Scream is the place to be. You've got a couple options from there. But I think you're always going to see a pair with at least Beast colors. Sometimes, as I said, you can forego the Champion of Cunning top end and go with more of an Ashara game plan, or even Lethrai Ranger game plan, giving that 2/2 flying, and then it becomes a 4/4. You can get reasonable beatdowns going. And Lethrai Ranger is actually a really interesting card in the current metagame because people have slowed down their removal and interaction. If it dodges Hailstorm and becomes a 4/4, it continues to dodge Hailstorm.
Yeah. Looks like we have a couple backup matches for you guys. I think we're going to be moving into Tobboo versus qwertzy, which is going to be TJP versus FTJ. More traditional FTJ, not Divining Rod, and a more traditional TJP. Now, what we've moved to the Aegis focused list featuring Shelterwing Rider and Copperhall Elite, I believe is the card.
Yeah, so TJP mid-range has shifted to really try and take advantage of the slowed down metagame, deploying lots of Aegis units, protecting those Aegis units by having the new Huru Flyer that prevents opponents from playing weapons.
Yeah, but Pacifier?
Yeah, Pacifier, but they still have a plan for augmenting their own units. I don't know if Tobboo's on that plan, but a lot of these decks are, and that's by playing Accelerated Evolution, a card that is pretty strong, but usually too slow. Not too slow for this metagame, as Tobboo just beats down with a double Equivocate.
Yeah, and gets through an Ikaria there, and that's going to be 1-1 for the matchup. So we get to see a game 3 here. And yeah, Tobboo is... It doesn't look like he's playing any copies of Accelerated Evolution in the main or the sideboard. Opting to go for 3 Stand Together plus a 4th in the sideboard, and all 4 Equivocates. Equivocate is a really interesting card for me because I have not been playing it in my TJP list, and I wonder what is really drawing people to it, because I feel like in Time Justice Primal, you already have really good options between Permafrost and Vanquish and Island's Choice and things like that, plus all your silence effects.
Yeah.
So I wonder what draws people to Equivocate, but it is very versatile.
Yeah, Tobboo is on 2 Permafrost, 3 Vanquish, 4 Equivocate main, with 2 extra perms in the side and the 1 extra Vanquish on the side. So I think Equivocate just being the better game 1 removal spell in terms of it can hit anything, right? There's no limitation to what you can cast Equivocate on, whereas there are at least some restrictions to Vanquish and Permafrost, even if their upside is quite a bit higher.
Yep. And I think if any deck is going to play Equivocate, this deck really doesn't mind the downside of giving your opponent a random unit. Since you're playing basically the biggest units in the game, that's basically your goal here, or you're playing evasive threats. And so it's just very unlikely that what your opponent gets is going to be particularly relevant.
Yeah, the fast speed is also really nice as you get to hold it up with Stand Together. You're not playing Desert Marshal in this list anywhere, at least Tobboo's not, which is a notable thing. Just, Desert Marshal can play the role of removal, and they just like Equivocate playing that role a bit more.
Yeah, Desert Marshal is. I'm gonna still stick with Desert Marshal for now, but that was definitely the replacement, and I see, especially in this more like this list does not have Obelisk. We've seen a lot of TJP lists with things like Scouting Party and Obelisk and etc. And this is more focused on high tempo, play something that just gets going immediately. And Equivocate does a better job there.
Desert Marshal snipes this Awakened Student, so it's locked in as a 2/2. And it might swing in here, but Tobboo's going to hold on to it in hopes that eventually gets bestowed with a Stand Together or something like that.
Unseen Commando, not so stealthy anymore as Desert Marshal silences it. Does qwertzy really want to trade both of these Desert Marshals, though, for this 2/3? The answer is no.
Yeah, qwertzy does not, it turns out. So Tobboo will just continue to pressure the board with slightly bigger bodies, and qwertzy's trying to keep up with the Seraph here. All right. We are working on getting a hand cam. There's a little bit of issues with our hand cam client, so we are aware. We're working on those. But in the meantime, Tobboo's got some Vanquishes with no targets, and Valkyrie Enforcer can hold up Equivocate. That's not the worst situation.
Yeah, I think these two Desert Marshals, though, have done a great job of slowing down Tobboo's game plan. This Copper Hall Elite doesn't look particularly powerful on this board. Really shines when you can get through the board with your more powerful units and then starts taxing their removal. But in this situation, not doing that.
But this is where Equivocate being a fast spell is huge, right?
Oh, right.
They've got to triple block your Copper Hall Elite, or they get blown out by Equivocate. Looks like Tobboo's just going to use it at slow speed here instead, and I'm not really sure why. Okay, so he can A space. That makes a lot of sense. If you were swinging with just Elite, you could wait.
And that's going to be a lot of damage, but I don't know that Tobboo really has the power to close this game out fast enough for that to be the right play. And we'll see as the game goes on. I think if Tobboo had another threat to deploy next turn guaranteed, I'd be more behind that line.
Yeah, Tobboo holding on to the power because he could draw some Awakened Students, and has to be real happy to see a Sandstorm Titan here as now a Vanquish is online and draws a slow for the turn, which means he can fish around and see how many Harsh Rules are lurking in qwertzy's hand as well.
Yeah, and gets to see what the Equivocate turned that card into. But being able to play 2 spells a turn now is a critical tempo swing here.
Yeah, so qwertzy is almost certainly in a lot of trouble here. Again, we don't have an eye on their hand, so we don't know what that Equivocate transformed Seraph into. We don't know what got doubled in cost, but maybe we'll find out soon.
Yeah, and a double block on that Copper Hall Elite, and that makes Tobboo susceptible again to Harsh Rule and removal, and also not particularly threatening with just these 2/2s on the board. But at 9 life, any damage is relevant.
All right, Seraph comes down, and that's huge here. It's the biggest unit on board, and it dodges Vanquish. So this could force Tobboo. Yep, Valkyrie Enforcer comes out, is a 3-turn clock, and I guess Tobboo didn't see stuff in qwertzy's hand that made him mind deploying the Enforcer.
Right. And I guess he's less concerned about and that's great for Tobboo. being able to actually have a vanquish target get in for 3, because typically it feels really bad to play Valkyrie Enforcer and then have the Valkyrie Enforcer target come down in Sandstorm Titan. But when the only card left in hand is Vanquish, wow, this Runehammer is doing a lot of work here.
Yeah, Tobboo was in a spot where, of course, he didn't have a good play. A top decked stand together would have just ended the game. Instead, Runehammer showing off how backbreaking of a card it can be, as it just gets an easy 2-for-1 here, forcing Tobboo into the suicide swing.
Well, Scoutland is a little bit better than most lands he could draw there, and sees the stand together. Probably not going to do enough. I believe he sends that to the bottom.
Yeah, a 3/3 Aegis unit is not good enough in the face of Seraph, and instead just, oh man, the power keeps coming in. Now qwertzy's up to being able to cast 5 drops with the help of this Trailmaker also providing influence, and casts a Rise here. And we still don't know what got doubled in costs, but I'm guessing it was something big.
All I know is it was not Huru Envoy.
Yeah. Huru Envoy, for those wondering how this showed up, was once a Seraph and had a very confusing time in its life. Lots of things being risen for here. Do you think it's just more hammers?
Very likely hammers. Let me take a look at qwertzy's full deck list here. If there was something to gain life, that's what I'd be going for, but there's no Thorn Warden or anything like that. Oh wow, Martial Ironthorn huge here, since qwertzy's been struggling on power. Now every power he draws is going to be worth 2, and that's going to get him towards Ikaria and Heart of the Vault very quickly.
This is kind of a weird list from qwertzy. Like 4 Trailmaker, 4 Harshful is not a combination you're used to seeing.
Nope, it is definitely not.
Usually Amber Acolyte will take that spot.
Or Power Stone, or apparently Memento Mori,
All right, Tobboo finally finding some action, but will it be enough here?
Well, with the stand together,
it's a flyer with a stand.
Yeah, stand together could close this game out here. So Desert March is going to force the stand together.
Yeah. So this is the first thing that got risen for, and there were 2 rises cast this game. So, but the thing is, if he rose for a hammer, can't cast Auric Runehammer with this bird in play.
Right. And it was a second Desert Marshal. Wow. Vanquish? All right, Vanquish.
Okay.
Wow.
So why did you even...
didn't need the second Desert Marshal at all. It was completely unnecessary. Yeah,
not sure why he even played that second Marshal, but still good foresight from qwertzy, just thinking about how can I lose this game? Well, they stick a flyer and swing with it. So loading up on Desert Marshals in the meantime was a great game plan and paid off there.
Yeah, and I think that Tobboo's draw wasn't the best as far as drawing a ton of power, but I think that really does highlight a lot of the differences between this current TJP list and how it the changes that from the old list. The old list having a lot more of that grindy late game potential with the obelisks, the scouting partners things like that. Whereas this new list with Finest Hour, Shelter Wings, Copper Hollies is really looking to get threats on the board and not let your opponent answer them before the game ends.
Yeah. Overall, the card quality is higher in TJP, but it doesn't have those explosive like auto win hands that it did when it was on that weird like Diplomatic Seal initiate kind of game plan.
Right.
Occasionally looked unbeatable and occasionally looked like the worst deck in the game.
Right.
I think it's a bit more consistent from card to card and draw and game to game now.
Yes.
So with that, we've got no more backup matches for this round, but we've got something that's almost as good, and that's an explanation for what's going on here. This is the Eternal Tournament Series, hosted and run by the aReNGee Eternal crew. And what goes on here is this is an open weekly. Anybody that plays Eternal can play in the weekly today. You simply just sign up. It's free, and you have fun. Based on how you do in these open events, you can then get an invite to an invitational, and that's where the real prizes start to show up. Although that's not to say there's no prizes in the open weeklies anymore. Oh no, we've got a new sponsor, Inked Gaming. They provide all sorts of great gaming equipment, whether it's play mats, mouse pads, or other cool merch, you can check them out. We also have a special deal going with them where if you use the promo code aReNGee12, you get 12% off. So they are graciously supplying some new prizes for our open weekly events, and that is some cool mouse pads that say you're a winner or something like along those lines. I don't know the exact text on them, but they're pretty cool looking, and it almost makes me want to jump out of the booth and fight for one myself.
Yeah, they're actually a custom Eternal Tournament Series mats that have the Eternal Tournament Series logo on there and weekly winner or ETS runner-up on there. So super cool from Inked Gaming. So yeah, definitely check them out, use our code, and definitely sign up for the ETS if you have the time. It's always a ton of fun, and what do you got to lose?
Yeah, I can't agree more. It is honestly at this point, like, it's the best thing about Eternal. Let's be real. I'm being modest, but with that, we're gonna take a quick little break here, and we'll be back for round 3 of today's weekly in just a moment.